Do you remember the warm crackle of the vinyl record, spinning that sweet melody in 1972? What if that familiar track was actually a desperate, crying plea to a late father? Sometimes, the songs we slow dance to hide the most agonizing secrets. And wait until we reach number 1, where a dying legend turns a borrowed tune into his devastating final breath. Today, we are counting down 10 heartbreaking stories behind the saddest songs in history. We begin at number 10, Everything I Own by Bread, released in 1972. Millions of people have held each other and slow danced to this melody, believing it was just another sweet romantic ballad. But as our dedicated listener Robert G. thoughtfully reminded us, this is not a love song. It is a desperate, helpless confession.
You gave my life to me.
When David Gates lost his father, a man who had sacrificed his entire life to support his son's musical dreams, the singer was left with an unbearable silence. He wrote these lyrics as an agonizing tribute, wishing he could trade all his earthly success just to sit and speak to his dad one last time. Listen closely to the studio recording. The production is deliberately stripped back. There is no heavy orchestration, just an acoustic guitar and a vocal performance so fragile it feels like it might shatter. You can actually hear his voice tremble on the high notes, capturing a raw grief that no studio trick could ever replicate.
Just to have you back again.
The track effortlessly reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and topped the adult contemporary chart. Yet, so many people misunderstood the tears hidden beneath those gentle chords. As we grow older, we inevitably learn that the most devastating heartbreak is not a faded romance. It is the crushing realization that our parents are gone, and we still have an ocean of words left to say. That unspoken pain is exactly why this masterpiece earns its rightful place in our countdown of the saddest songs in history.
Just to touch you once again.
Moving down to number 9, The Living Years by Mike and the Mechanics.
I just wish I could have told him
How many arguments from our youth do we wish we could take back? For songwriters Mike Rutherford and B.A. Robertson, that question became a haunting reality. As our viewers, the Stig 99 and Don Henley fan pointed out, this track perfectly captures the heavy burden of unspoken apologies. Both musicians had recently lost their fathers. Robertson was especially crushed, as his dad passed away just 12 weeks before his own son was born. To bring this painful confession to life, they made a brilliant choice in the studio. They paired the weary, soulful voice of Paul Carrack with the innocent voices of the King's House School Choir. This contrast turned a standard pop-rock tune into a sacred generational hymn. The song climbed straight to number 1 in 1989. Critics of the time called it commercial, but ordinary people simply wept. It resonated deeply with a generation realizing their aging parents were mortal. This masterpiece claims its spot as one of the saddest songs in history because it forces us to face our most devastating regret, the stubborn pride that keeps us from making peace until the living years finally run out.
I'm sure I heard his echo in my baby's newborn.
Number 8, Luca by Suzanne Vega.
My name is Luca.
Sometimes, the most terrifying monsters do not hide in the dark. They live right next door, hiding behind a catchy pop melody. As our deeply observant listener so rightly pointed out, this gentle tune carries one of the most haunting messages ever broadcast on daytime radio.
Just don't ask me what it was.
Suzanne Vega wrote this piece after seeing a solitary boy playing outside her apartment building. Though the real child was safe, his quiet demeanor inspired her to voice the silent agony of abused children. In the studio, she made a chilling, artistic choice. She paired the dark reality of domestic violence with an upbeat, almost cheerful rhythm. It is a brilliant deception. It makes you tap your feet before the devastating truth of the lyrics hits your soul.
Only hit till you cry.
Radio stations were initially afraid to play it. Yet, this cultural anomaly climbed to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1987. It broke the shameful silence of an entire generation. Vega received thousands of letters from survivors who finally felt seen.
Walked into the door again.
Luka earns its place in our countdown of the saddest songs in history for one heartbreaking reason. The greatest tragedy is not hearing a child cry. It is watching a child forced to smile and lie just to survive the apathy of the world.
Just don't ask me how I am.
Number 7, Sam Stone by John Prine.
Had shattered all his nerves.
Imagine returning home from a terrifying war that broke your body, only to find a country that desperately wants to forget you exist. As our longtime listener, Tim Curtis 5144, so deeply pointed out, this is not just a melody. It is a slow, agonizing documentary of a crumbling soul. John Prine wrote this brutally honest piece after watching his fellow veterans return from Vietnam, carrying invisible wounds that no ordinary medicine could heal.
With a purple heart and a monkey on his back.
In the studio, Prine made a chilling choice. He refused to use heavy drums or dramatic strings. He kept it painfully bare. Just a simple acoustic guitar, a faint organ, and his dry delivery. He sang about a veteran falling into the dark abyss of morphine addiction with a steady calmness, which makes the tragedy feel even more devastating to listen to.
There's a hole in Daddy's arm.
Though it was never a massive radio pop hit in 1971, it immediately became a sacred anthem for a generation scarred by trauma. The legendary Johnny Cash even covered it, yet the sheer despair of the original lyrics was almost too heavy for him to bear. Sam Stone earns its rightful place in our countdown of the saddest songs in history because it strips away all the false glory of combat. It leaves us with the crushing, tearful reality of a father who survived the battlefield, only to quietly fade away in his own home.
For a flag-draped casket on a local hero's head.
Number 6, I Can't Make You Love Me by Bonnie Raitt, released in 1991.
I can't make you love me.
Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you simply stopped fighting? As our listener bravely shared, this track brings back the heaviest memories of a broken heart. The origin of this masterpiece is surprisingly dark. Songwriter Mike Reed read a local newspaper article about a drunk man who shot up his ex-girlfriend's car. When the judge asked if he had learned his lesson, the man simply replied, "You cannot make a woman love you if she does not."
You can't make your heart feel.
That raw, defeated confession became the soul of this track. In the studio, a seasoned blues queen like Bonnie Raitt did something incredibly rare. She recorded the vocal in exactly one take. The emotional weight was so crushing that she could not bring herself to sing it a second time.
The love you don't feel.
The song reached number 18 on the Billboard Hot 100, but its true impact goes far beyond commercial charts. It earned a spot in the Grammy Hall of Fame. It claims its place in our countdown of the saddest songs in history because it strips away the anger of a breakup. It leaves us with nothing but a terrifying silence, the bitter, devastating acceptance that no matter how much we bleed, we cannot force a heart to feel.
I close my eyes.
Number 5, Go Rest High on That Mountain by Vince Gill.
Go rest high.
Grief does not always come pouring out at once. Sometimes it waits. As our wonderful viewer beautifully noted, this is one of the most sacred farewell songs ever recorded. Vince Gill started writing this piece in 1989 after his dear friend, country singer Keith Whitley, tragically passed away. But the pain was too much. He abandoned the draft. It sat untouched for 4 years until a second devastating tragedy struck, the death of his own brother, Bob Gill.
Angels face it.
He finally finished the lyrics with tears in his eyes. In the studio, he brought in Patti Loveless and Ricky Skaggs to sing harmony. If you listen closely to the recording, you will notice Gill's voice cracking on the high notes. That is not a planned vocal technique. That is simply a man breaking down in front of a microphone.
Go to hell.
It reached number 14 on the country charts in 1995, but its true legacy is unmeasurable. It became the ultimate hymn for grieving families across the American South. This masterpiece secures its spot on our list of the saddest songs in history because it was never meant to be a commercial hit. It is a desperately private prayer, an agonizing goodbye to the brothers we have lost, and a tearful plea that their weary souls have finally found peace.
Love for the fire.
We reach number 4, All of My Love by Led Zeppelin, from 1979. When we think of Led Zeppelin, we picture arrogant rock gods ruling the 70s, but our insightful listener, Steve Peterson 4501, guided us to a moment where those gods fell to earth, completely broken. While on tour, thousands of miles from home, lead singer Robert Plant received the most terrifying call a parent can get. His 5-year-old son Karak had suddenly died from a stomach virus. Plant retreated into total darkness. This track is his final, desperate letter to heaven. Musically, it was a polarizing departure from their heavy guitar sound. John Paul Jones drove the melody with a classical synthesizer, creating a funeral-like atmosphere that allowed Plant to drop his rock star armor and simply be a grieving father.
Yours is the cloth, mine is the hand that sews tight.
Though it was never released as a commercial single, it dominated radio stations. It secures its place in our countdown of the saddest songs in history because it strips away the illusion of fame. It reminds us that no amount of wealth or platinum records can ever fill the agonizing void of losing a child.
He is a feather in the wind.
Number 3, Monsters by James Blunt, from 2019.
Two grown men saying goodbye.
There comes a terrifying moment in life when we realize our parents are not immortal gods, but fragile human beings. As our deeply insightful listener, the Stig 99, reminded us, this track captures that exact shattering realization. Unlike his usual romantic ballads, James Blunt wrote this as a devastatingly direct farewell to his real father, who was battling stage 4 kidney disease. It strips away all the comforting lies we tell ourselves at a hospital bed.
So daddy, won't you just close your eyes?
In the recording studio, and especially in the music video, Blunt did not use any theatrical tricks. He sat shoulder to shoulder with his frail father, looking directly into the camera while real tears streamed down his face. It is an incredibly bare, almost uncomfortable display of anticipatory grief.
Don't be afraid. It's my time.
Though released in 2019, it became a massive cultural phenomenon later on, particularly when it moved judges to tears on national television in 2023. Monsters rightfully takes its place near the very top of our saddest songs in history countdown. It bravely forces us to face the hardest goodbye, when two grown men finally drop their armor and just wait for the inevitable fade to black.
To chase the monsters away.
Number 2, Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton, released in 1992.
Would you know my name?
There are some melodies that should have never been written. As our dedicated listener, the Stig 99 quietly reminded us, this masterpiece was born from a parent's ultimate nightmare. In March 1991, the legendary rock guitarist faced a tragedy that broke him completely. His 4-year-old son Connor passed away in a heartbreaking accident in New York. Clapton withdrew from the world, holding onto his acoustic guitar just to survive the crushing silence of his grief.
If I saw you in heaven.
During his MTV Unplugged session, Clapton did not rely on his signature loud electric blues sound. He stripped away all the noise. Using a nylon string Spanish guitar, his voice was weary and fragile, offering a desperately private plea, hoping against hope to see his little boy again in the afterlife. The track won 3 Grammy Awards in 1993 and sold over 3 million copies. But commercial success meant nothing. In 2004, Clapton stopped performing it entirely, refusing to recreate his deepest trauma just for entertainment. It rightfully claims its place as one of the saddest songs in history, proving that sometimes music is not meant to be a product. It is simply the only language left when a human soul is completely destroyed. Number 1. Hurt by Johnny Cash, from 2002.
I hurt myself today.
There is a profound difference between singing a sad song and singing your own eulogy. As our listener so powerfully debated with us, this is not just a cover. It is a terrifyingly real documentary of a fading life. When legendary producer Rick Rubin suggested a dark industrial track by 9 Inch Nails, Johnny Cash was 71, his health failing, his voice cracked and dry.
My sweetest friend.
Rubin stripped away all the electronic noise. He left only a naked acoustic guitar and a man facing his own mortality. In the music video, memories of his golden years flash before our eyes, almost like a new picture every 7 seconds, contrasting with the frail man pouring wine with trembling hands. It is a raw, dark country elegy that makes you hold your breath.
I will let you down.
When Trent Reznor saw the final cut, he wept and surrendered the song entirely. Cash passed away just months later. Hurt is the undisputed king of our saddest songs in history countdown because it is the ultimate truth. It forces every one of us to realize that at the end of the road, every crown, every worldly achievement simply turns into an empire of dirt.
If I could start again.
From the trembling hands of a fading legend, pouring his final glass of wine, to a desperately quiet plea played on a nylon string guitar, and the heavy burden of apologies we never got to say. These melodies are far more than just commercial records. They are a safe harbor for our heaviest tears, proving that even in our darkest moments, we are never truly alone. To help keep this musical time machine running, please consider joining our family here. And before we sign off for the night, I want to know, what is the one song that always breaks your own heart?